Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you like the video, click on like and subscribe and talk about it on chat lines or wherever it is your social media activities, and help us to grow and help more people. I'll talk to you soon. And what I want to discuss with you is, I want to bring your attention to the fact that it's all about observing or perceiving. Look, when you observe something, when you stay with that thing, whatever it is, only that, and see it for what it is, rather than giving it an interpretation and going and associating it with something else, therefore perceiving what you're observing rather than observing what you're observing for what it is. For example, if a thought shows up, you're a heterosexual male or heterosexual female, however, a thought shows up about homosexuality or a suggestion or a feeling of interest of something that you thought it's handsome or something that you thought it's same gender, and you are bamboozled, that you just noticed that, whatever it is, or a thought popped up that by brain is an intrusive thought. Instead of just observing that thought, that it's a bad thought, or that guy is handsome, or the association of muscle or body to sex, because the brain has a capability of association far faster than anything else. And especially if there's certain brains that are a little bit more imaginative and very sharp, especially that they can create things and invent things, that's the kind of brain they have. Most people with OCD are above average smarts anyhow. And therefore their mind is faster in association and creation and invention and problem solving. So it digs deep, and it's got a tremendous fast speed to associate things with. So when you see these things and the association takes you to some tangent that seems, for a heterosexual, seems homosexual, that thought or train of thought, is because you are not just looking at it for what it is. That's the association of something. Instead, you perceive it. That means something. You give it a conclusion. You give it a label. You give it a perception of what the society has created it. When I was a kid, all kinds of thoughts could have shown up. And we thought of it based on the core values that we had, of whatever it was that we have felt it's meaningful to us. And that was creating our core principles or value systems. We would just think, oh, that's nasty thought, or that's bad thought. That was it. There was no perception to what that thought could be interpreted to. What could it mean now? What should I now do to prove that this thought should not have ever appeared in my head? Instead, we just took it like, that's weird. Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, whatever. And that was it. But today, there were so many labels to everything. If such a thought of someone is handsome shows up, or you notice the handsomeness of the same gender, suddenly there is a label, an association of word, a conclusion to that, to gay, homosexuality. So now you're no longer dealing with the fact that that person was handsome. You're no longer dealing with a thought that showed up and it wasn't of your liking, or it's not of your inclination or preference. You're now dealing with the conclusion of homosexuality. Suddenly, from a thought, we are now dealing with a concept. That is what the problem is today, that no one observing what a thought or suggestion or image, whatnot, shows up in the head, which is independent from you anyhow. You are perceiving what shows up in your lives, in all aspects of life, not just the OCD or HOCD that we're talking about. In reality, you are not living life as it unfolds. You're actually perceiving everything. You see a tree, you don't look at it as an orange tree, what it is. Oh, orange tree. Oh, that orange is yellow. Oh, that's the orange tree I had in my uncle's home. That was bigger than this, and the oranges were same color. No longer you're with this orange tree experience. You're now in your memory with some perception of an orange tree somewhere else and have lost that experience of what this actually was. It was just an orange tree. That's it. But now you've gone into how much orange is in the market and what orange tree in my uncle's home or so and so's street I saw. And suddenly you're now dealing with, oh, and that kid who stole the orange from that house and the house was following it. Now you're dealing with some kind of a criminal activity, which was all a perception of, instead of observing that orange tree, you're now going along with some kind of a detailed explanation or data hunting. Similarly, that is happening in almost everything else in your life. When it comes to OCD and HOCD, so on, it actually is pretty much as the same way as I explained. You're not simply thinking about a thought, a fragment of the production of the brain that showed up that is not to your liking, is not to your approval, and that's the end of it. Oh, that was nasty. Okay, let's go. But instead, now you're dealing with the label and the conclusion of what that thought could represent in some of the facets and tangents of this world that we live in. Just because something exists, and just because the mind can associate so many different images and thoughts and so on together, you're not supposed to come and deal with something far away from what was just simple a notice of someone's good look, or some thought that showed up, or some suggestion in the mind that, oh, maybe you like to kiss that guy. Okay, look, okay, I don't like it. That's the end of it. But then you interpret, and then you go on, and then you say, oh, why did I feel this way? Well, we feel like anything. You could see I don't know, donkey's ass and feel something. You could maybe see some horse or some cute dog, or these brain makes thoughts, but you're not supposed to go to the conclusion of what this simple whatever it was, thought was created. So what? Observe things, leave them for what they are, and see them for what they are, not a conclusion or a concept or whatever else, and run with it. And then in that way, you're actually letting the sick brain or the malfunctioning brain to actually continue that process, which was just something you threw out, and you allowed it to latch on to you by becoming sensitive about it, by becoming having a data hunting attitude towards it. That gives an exchange energy to the brain that is already malfunctioning, and it's a negative route in relation to your values and so on, and it runs with it. And of course, brain just living in negativity, that's its job, to be negative in all things, just lives and is spawned from negativity in order to protect you. So it runs with that kind of a negative and brings about all kinds of other intrusive things. So if you remember the things that we talked about, perhaps that will set you free to understand. Observe, don't perceive, let it be for what it is, and don't data hunt it, don't interpret it. And at the same time, understand that you are beyond brain and brain's function, and brain is not you, you're not the brain, as the scholars and scientists have proven scientifically, and plus the fact that through my videos that I've put, that you have access to them, you can examine and see that there is a me before the brain, and that me, the you, is outside of the brain. You're the awareness. You're the intellect. You are what decides on all the functions and acceptability or ignoring of all the productions of all these apparatuses that is for us to use, not for us to be used by them. Hence, you're not the brain. Brain is not you. Get your freedom back by understanding the separation of the systems of brain, thoughts, and you. I'll talk to you soon.